This video is neither cheerleading for one side nor the other. The purpose of this video is not to celebrate Sargon of Akkad, and it's also not to condemn Sargon of Akkad. It's neither to justify YouTube's unpredictable censorship policies, nor is it to condemn them. This is an occasion for all YouTube creators to wake up and be reminded that one, YouTube is just a website, and two, success on YouTube, by definition, means quitting YouTube, means moving off of YouTube. Okay? Very briefly, I'm going to explain to you what I mean. About 10 years ago, you might have known some of these people. There were people who were just like swept up in their success on Facebook. They had a Facebook group or a Facebook page, and maybe it got featured in the local newspaper or the local radio station or something, or sometimes even a big TV station like CNN said, oh, there's a new Facebook page for fans of the original Pac-Man video game, and they got 1 million people coming to this Facebook page. I don't know if any of those Facebook people ever said to you that they were going to quit their job and do Facebook full-time. The way today it's completely normal for people to say they're going to quit their job and do YouTube full-time. But you might have known some people 10 years ago who were so swept up in the success of a Facebook page or a Facebook project that they sort of lost sight of the fact that Facebook is just a website. And whatever their project was on Facebook, to really be successful, okay, now you've got this attention, now you've got 1 million people interested or 1,000 people interested, you have to take the next step to get off Facebook, whether that's onto your own website, starting your own business, or somehow or another getting out into the real world, right? So like, I knew people, I guess 10 years ago, rounding off, I knew people doing like political activism of different kinds, and they would get really caught up in the success, sometimes of like a single image, like a single meme or poster or something they post on the internet. And it's like, dude, okay, if this is success, then you got to think about next steps. You can't get caught up in this website. About 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago now, this also happened with Tumblr briefly. People would have like a fantastically successful Tumblr page, which again, it might have been built on the success of like one image, one meme that people loved or something. And it's like, dude, Tumblr is not your career. And whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, whether it's, something as simple as like a video game fan club or, a movie review channel or something, or if it's something more like political activism or, news commentary on current events or something, you've got to think about the next step. Because like, by definition, no matter how much success you have within that platform, if you can't step off of that platform into something realer, into real life, into the real world, that success is a failure. Okay? Now today, in the year 2020, that's easy to see with those other websites I just mentioned, right? Like the greatest level of success you can possibly attain on Facebook is basically a failure. It's still meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. And quite likely it had nothing to do with you, right? Like your merit or your review. I'm the administrator of one of the biggest discussion groups for vegans in Japan on Facebook. I think it's the second biggest for vegans in Japan. It means nothing. I mean, what? I have the ability to kick people out of that group, I guess. Like, what if I want to go mad with power and feel like I'm successful? And it had nothing to do with me. Like, I used to be studying Japanese. I'm not anymore. And a whole lot of people signed up for that. Hey, for all I know, maybe it was featured in the local newspaper or something. Maybe so many people signed up to join that group for some wacky reason like that. I don't know, and I don't care, okay? We're at a stage right now in 2020 where that delusion that YouTube is something much more than Facebook or Tumblr or Twitter, people haven't quite broken out of that yet. We just heard Sargon of Akkad say that he feels he should be treated better by YouTube because he got a total of something like 50 billion views. Right? Now, whether or not that number is correct, whether it is 50 million or 500 million or 5 billion or 50 billion, you get to define what is success relative to your category, what you're trying to entertain. You might be doing something that's a real niche market, and there only are a few thousand viewers you can possibly reach. Like the maximum size of the audience for what you do might be pretty small, or it might be 10 million. It might be some proximate number like this that's attainable. Once you've attained that, think about the next steps, because there's no way to succeed here within YouTube with this so-called fame that's just making money for Google Corporation, just making money for YouTube Corporation, where you take on none of the risk, you take on none of the responsibility, you also get none of the money, and you don't accomplish anything in the real world, right? Think about the website Reddit. Whatever the topic is you're interested in. Maybe you want to talk about politics, maybe you want to do movie reviews. I'll just stick to those two examples, okay? It doesn't matter how successful you are doing commentary on Reddit. You might be, you'd have to imagine the type of personality who would be like this. It would be like the person who is obsessed with their Facebook page. Every time they post something on Reddit, they get 1,000 thumbs up. They get 10,000 thumbs up. It's not even a thumb on Reddit. It's an arrow, right? Whatever. They're posting these things. Maybe they have their own Reddit discussion forum. They're all full of, excitement about how great this is, posting on Reddit. If that's your friend, you have to say to them, look, if you're serious about this kind of writing, you want to write film criticism, you want to do political commentary, okay? You have to think about getting out of Reddit and doing this on paper, publishing a magazine, or, hey, baby steps, how about you start your own website that, does what Reddit does, but for you, on your rules, on your terms, and where you're paying the bills, you're ultimately paying for the electricity that makes that website run, right? You're taking the risks, Even Onision did that. That was a huge part of his channel's growth. He didn't rely on Reddit. He didn't rely on YouTube. He set up his own websites, plural, with his own discussion forums. Of course, he later ran that into the ground and deleted it all. It's another story. But it's remarkable how rare it is for people to step away from depending on this kind of corporate platform that's being provided for you to just try to start your own platform, right? And some of you guys might think that there's a huge risk involved in printing something on paper. Not really. So instead of spending your time writing these articles that go on Reddit, what about you have your own website with your own discussion forum, you're doing the writing, and periodically you're gathering it together, even if you just did self-published books on Amazon or something. There are ways you can step it up and make your efforts count in the real world. The technology we're relying on here on YouTube, it has existed for at least 20 years. YouTube itself is 15 years old, this website, and the technology existed at least 5 years before that, all right? This is 20-year-old technology. Can anyone remember PewDiePie complaining that he was going to delete his channel? I forget, this is a couple years ago. He was angry at YouTube for suppressing his channel, for not promoting his channel the way they used to. He was getting fewer views. He had these complaints about the way YouTube was managed, editorial decisions and so on. And he said he was going to delete his channel and quit YouTube. Now, he later said that was a joke, that he didn't mean it seriously. Nevertheless, he was complaining about what he didn't like about YouTube. Don't you think PewDiePie could organize a conference call with some computer programmers in Silicon Valley and create his own website where he directly uploads his own videos? Do you want to estimate the budget for that? At this point, there are so many website providing services. There are so many ways you can get your own domain and you can start uploading your own videos to your own platforms on your own terms. And again, have your own comment section, have your own discussion forum. So if you're somebody like Sargon of Akkad and you feel accomplished because you hit 50 billion views in total, right? Sure, it's a mark of accomplishment. But for some of you people, if you have a YouTube channel that's about knitting or about some very specific category within politics or something, all right, it might be you have 5 million views. And you say, okay, I've done everything YouTube can do for me. In the same way that someone who's successful as a writer on Reddit still has to become a real writer. If you're successful as a filmmaker on YouTube, You still have to become a real filmmaker. If you're successful doing political commentary on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr, you still have to think about the next steps to being successful doing political analysis and political commentary in the real world. And, the internet will still be part of that. You may still have a website. You may have a charity that receives donations. You may form a political action committee. It's an American term. You may start a foundation or a charity, or, you may register it and make it real in the real world in some sense. And it may still be that 90% of what you do happens over the internet. Even when you publish something on paper, it might be 10% of the people buy the book on paper and 90% of them get it as a PDF on the internet. That kind of thing is common now. I'm not here saying the internet, by definition, is less real, right? Sometimes it is. I mean, if your aspiration is to get out in the real world and make a political difference through activism of some kind, whatever it is, if you want to make the world a different place by opening a restaurant of your own, or by publishing a book of restaurant criticism. Maybe you publish annually. You collect together your reviews of all the best and worst restaurants in the city you live in. You want that book to exist on paper, and other people will get it as an app for their mobile phone or whatever, okay? It's a good example. At some point, if you're serious about doing restaurant reviews, you have to stop submitting them to Yelp.com. Stop submitting your restaurant reviews to Google Maps. There are all these corporations that'll take your hard work and they'll make money out of it for free. At some point, you have to recognize YouTube is just a website. And the only way to win is to walk away, try to achieve something outside of that website. And very often, that's going to involve creating a website of your own, creating a so-called ecosystem of your own. You're going to stop being a free rider on the platform that YouTube created for you or the platform that Facebook created for you, right? Which makes it easy for hobbyists, makes it easy for people like me, but ultimately it's limiting. It's like a skin that you have to shed, like a snake molting its skin. As soon as you hit that point, whatever it is that defines success for you, success inexorably requires you to quit YouTube.